Much of what I cover on this channel is old games for old systems, retro gaming, vintage gaming, but I've also dug a little bit into the homebrew scene, made up of designers who make new experiences for their old systems, mostly for love of the game over any kind of actual business venture. But there is a bit of an in-between. Actual companies that professionally design or publish new games for those retro consoles. MegaCat Studios is one of those companies. Hi, I'm Paul, and this is Indie Pop Productions, pop culture from an independent point of view. And this is MegaCat Studios Collection 3 for Evercade. In their third collection for Evercade, MegaCat Studios has put together a collection of games designed for those retro consoles, including the NES, Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, and the Sega Genesis. The last time I reviewed one of these Evercade carts, the Activision Collection 2, which came out the same day as the MegaCat 3 did, I reviewed those games in the order that they were presented on the cart, which felt kind of anticlimactic, ending on what was, in my opinion, one of the weaker games in the collection. For MegaCat Studios Collection 3, we're going to try to avoid that by counting down from my least to most favorite games in the collection. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe. Interacting with this content by liking and subscribing, or even commenting and sharing, helps the channel grow, but also makes sure that YouTube shows you when my next video is released. Now, with that out of the way, let's go play some games. We're going to start off with Machine Cave. You fly your ship through these environments and caves trying to find the ends, I guess? I didn't get that far. It's a physics-based game with a ship that is intentionally hard to control. It wasn't fun. I know to some people that is the fun. You get used to the physics and practice until it becomes fun, but that's like when people tell me a food is an acquired taste. Why would I take the time to acquire a taste when there are other foods that already taste good? Moving on. Flap Happy is one of the only games in this collection I was familiar with, though I had never actually played it. The idea is simple. You fly your little bird and land on a platform without touching anything but the platform or the fruit flying around the screen. When you land on the platform, the next platform appears until you get to land on a base. Part puzzler, part platformer, two things I love, but I just couldn't get into this. I found it more annoying than hard and only had the patience to make it through a few levels. Superfanger is basically tag. You have 3 characters to choose from. Each one has some unique abilities. You run around the screen dodging enemies and trying to find these little bubbles. The more bubbles you find before you get caught, the higher the score. I spent my time with this game in single-player arcade mode, but there is actually a 2-player option where you take turns chasing each other. I didn't dislike the game, and it did have a fun one more time, I'm sure I could do better if I try one more time aspect to the gameplay that makes a lot of retro games so addictive. But I think having a player 2 and playing the tag mode might have moved this one further up my list. Gumball in Trick or Treat Land is a weird but cute little turn-based RPG. You play as Gumball, a literal gumball that falls out of a gumball machine and lands in Trick or Treat Land. A magical scarecrow sends you on a fetch quest to find ingredients he needs to send you back home. Though, if your previous life was his food and a vending machine, I think you'd be better off in Trick or Treat Land. You fight enemies along the way, such as candy corn and other food-based baddies. At first you defend yourself by throwing treats, but as in most RPGs, you will learn other abilities along the way. I struggled with where to rank this one. I loved the presentation, and the premise immediately made me think fondly of the Costume Quest games. But the gameplay, at least in the early game, was annoying. You miss too many times when you attack. Way too many times. I went to throw a treat at an enemy, and it went wide. When you and your enemy both have 3 hit points, one miss, and you're dead. It's frustrating when progression in a strategy game is entirely luck-based. That said, I would like to spend more time with this one. Once I get further into it, I can definitely see this one moving up my list. The Meeting, M-E-A-T-I-N-G, is an action platformer with puzzler elements where you play as the head of a bull. Yep. Khan the Minotaur went on a date with someone he met on a dating app. Turns out Mythical Tinder hooked him up with the butcher. The butcher butchered him and hid his beef around these dungeons. Now you are a ghostly bull's head, fighting enemies as you learn your ghostly powers on a quest to find your meat and reassemble your body. And probably get a little revenge. This is inspired by Greek mythology after all. The wacky premise alone made the game worth a try in my opinion, and while the gameplay doesn't offer anything terribly unique, it is good, weird, retro fun. Kudzu is a Zelda-style classic Game Boy Adventure game, puke green screen and all. You are an apprentice gardener named Max in a village built around this dangerously invasive plant called kudzu. The master gardener, Xion, has disappeared into the kudzu. You have to go on a quest to find him and discover the secrets within. You gather tools, learn skills, solve puzzles, fight boss battles. With just a short amount of time with each of these games so far, I have barely scratched the surface here. But as a fan of this type of game, and having fond memories of sinking hours into that puke green Game Boy screen, I'm looking forward to spending more time with this one. Pliuk, I think I'm saying that correctly, is a platform puzzler where you are a cute little lab experiment with the ability to make clones of yourself. You use those clones to solve puzzles and escape. Now, these clones aren't really clones. You're really making inanimate copies of yourself that appear beneath you, allowing you to reach higher areas. You only get so many copies per level, so don't waste them. The game was a blast. Honestly, any of these last 4 could have been my number 1 depending on my mood. If I wasn't on a mission to play a quality sampling of all 10 of these games, I would have sat down and played this one all the way through. Guntner is a fast-paced, side-scrolling, arcade-style space shooter. Like a lot of games on this collection, it leans heavily on the weird. You have been assigned transport duty, protecting a sickly dingle as you bring him across space to a doctor, or possibly a vet. I'm not sure what the dingle is. You fight a constant flow of truly bizarre enemies and bosses, grabbing power-ups and enhancements along the way. There's so much going on at any given moment, sometimes it's hard to really know what's happening. But it's not one of the more challenging shooters I've played, and extra lives are plentiful, at least in the early stages. I found myself being pulled into this one and quickly lost track of time. Player be warned. Rocket Panda is clearly meant to be the headliner of Evercade's Mega Cat Studios Collection 3. It's front and center on the box, featured in the stickers, all over the promos, and honestly just plain cute. This was made for the Sega Genesis, and it feels like a Genesis game. It really hit the nostalgia button. I am a sucker for a good Genesis game. You play as Rocket Panda, a panda with a rocket strapped to his back. You fly around dodging obstacles and enemies while saving your friends, the Badgers. They have been kidnapped by the evil Biscuit Head and his minions. It is a fun game, and they were right to make it their headliner. I can see this being many people's favorite. My favorite game on Evercade's Mega Cat Studios Collection 3 is Grab-A-Bots. This is a platform puzzler where you can control your area of gravity, flipping with ease from floor to ceiling. You also have arrow boxes that can be picked up and moved to control the direction of enemy bots' gravity. You can use these boxes to guide the evil robots to their destruction. Simple idea, but finding new ways to implement these mechanics was fun and addictive. I didn't want to stop playing, I just kept saying one more level. Seeing as how this one is only the second game in the collection, leaving me with 8 more to go after I pulled myself away, it really got this video off to a slow start. For this game alone, I would suggest purchasing this collection. You can also get it as a physical release for the Sega Genesis, and if you like platform puzzlers, try this one. That was my first experience with Mega Cat's games, and it covered the full spectrum. Some games that I loved, a few that I wouldn't mind digging a little deeper into, and a couple that I would be happy to never see again. All in all, a fun experience. The ones that hit really hit, and a few of the games offer a deep enough experience to be worth the price of the cart all on their own. But what do you think? Have you played any games from Mega Cat Studios? Do you agree with my rankings of these games? And what would you like to see Evercade put out next? If you watched my Neo Geo AES Plus video a while back, you'll remember that I questioned whether or not we'd be getting any Neo Geo carts for the Evercade anytime soon. Well, we are. I've been holding off on this video all week, just waiting to see if this would be announced. And now that it has, I don't think I should really put it into this video. It really feels like it needs its own standalone video. And besides, this video is long enough as it is, so more to come. A quick reminder, if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. I put out videos like this every week. Thank you for watching, especially those that made it all the way to the end. And as always, I'll see you next time.